Thanks for inviting me for this session, and I wish we were doing this session physically, but nevertheless, at least we are doing virtually. I hope everything is good there in Philippines and all of you are playing safe and working safe in this environment. So here I'm going to talk about how things have changed in last maybe 2 years, 1.5, 2 years since the lockdown happened. A lot of things outside the world has changed. The way we kept on doing business has changed, and so has Trend Micro changed a lot in terms of products and technology. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. This is the first one. So World Economic Forum, during one of the event, they did survey from all those attendees, asking them what are your biggest concern with COVID-19, and of course the obvious one is global economy slowdown. 66% of those people, 52% said, yeah, they are concerned about the bankruptcies and business. But surprisingly, 50% of the customers said they are worried about cyber attacks. And now remember, these are the business leaders. We are not talking about CIOs and CISOs here. They're all board members and the CEOs and the chairperson of the large organization. They are immensely worried about cyber attacks. And obviously, the reason is cyber attack has increased tremendously in last 1.5, 2 years. 70% increase in ransomware attack in Asia Pacific region. Globally, big surge in attacks happening. And because of that, a lot of investment has been going on cyber security side. And let's see how the perspective for 2021 has changed. One of the biggest change that happened is customer journey is reinvented. A lot of users who were not even using mobile devices before, they started doing banking or they started doing financial transactions on their mobile devices. A lot of people in the rural area, villager area, probably a lot of ignorant, if I can say so, not illiterate, but a lot of ignorant people from IT background side, they started doing a lot of critical transactions online. And that has become a big boom for attackers. They can start attacking illiterate or ignorant people who are doing those transactions online. That led to something very critical, which is zero trust model. And we were all talking about data privacy. And my personal view on data privacy is when we talk about your data should remain confined in your organization, should not move away. You don't want to share data with anyone. Practically, that's not going to happen in the digital world, in the digital economy. Recently, like just last year in 2020, Singapore issued a digital banking license to some organizations. So digital banking happening, Malaysia has invited applications, around 29 people, 29 organizations has applied for it. They are going to issue 5 digital banking licenses in Malaysia. So this is a reality. The banking, which was very traditional and conventional way of doing transactions, is moving to digital banking, digital world. The only way it works is when you are sharing the data with e-commerce company, with third party, with payment gateway providers. You're going to share the data. That's not going to stop anywhere. What you are here to protect, you're here to protect the identity of the people, and that's what a lot of users and customers should be worried about. That's number one from the customer side. From the cyber security side, a lot of things are moving away from user name, password based authentication or the device based authentication to the user's authentication, identity based authentication. That's something which is happening globally. A lot of threats on zero trust model. Digital platform, as I was talking about, most of the traditional banks moving to digital banking. A lot of unconventional organization, either telecom, e-commerce or other organizations, they are moving to digital platforms. So that's where the risk has risen. Cloud adoption is becoming big thing, and for a lot of traditional organizations who probably are not ready yet, the big thrust is going on doing application modernization, and that's a lot of investment is going because they still have very legacy monolithic applications which are not designed to work in cloud environment, which are not designed to work in cloud environment, and they are doing a lot of investment to modernize their application. Security first design for all platform. When they are doing application modernization, when you are adopting new technologies, they're also making sure that security is involved. The security is moving to left, which is during the development side of the software, security is considered. Risk from the third-party collaborators has increased, and we have seen a lot of attacks happen because supply chain partner was compromised. So your cyber security posture, policy, and process are not confined only to you. It's actually getting extended to your supply chain partner. They are coming under the surveillance. They are coming under the compliance for cyber security policy if they really want to be your partner. You are seeing a lot of financial attacks, but you are seeing a lot of bank-related attacks, and obvious reason is, as I said, a lot of ignorant and new users have started doing the mobile transactions, and they don't know how to play safe and how to work safe on the mobile devices, and that is leading to a lot of investment on new technology to do a fraud prevention. So these are all things happening there. Now come back to cyber security world. As I was talking about, because of the digital first initiative, a lot of banks and large manufacturing organizations wants to develop mobile app to do the transaction with customer or deliver few of the services and value to customer. A lot of investment happening on modernization of the applications. Lot of things happening around the compliance when you are working in the very, very tight industry, which is either HIPAA compliance or any other PCI DSS compliance. That is leading the industry to invest in some of the key cyber security technology. What we have seen globally and in North America, a lot of investment is happening on SOC upgradation, which is investing into a SOC platform, making sure that your SOC platform is actually going to the next level, having a more response and remediation capabilities, and we'll talk about this today later on. But second big investment is happening on threat intelligence platform, which is feeding to your SOC, but is also giving a good information intelligence to your IR and red teaming exercising. CASB, of course, a lot of investment on SASE side, on CASB side happening. EDR as a standalone solution, there is a lot of buzz around it, a lot of investment has gone by. You see in North America, in Asia Pacific region, a lot of big organizations have deployed EDR, which is now moving to get merged with something called XDR and zero trust model. So if you hear any of the cybersecurity seminar or you are attending any of the events there, you will hear any of this word for sure now. Either zero trust model, SASE, CASB, threat intelligence platform, or XDR. And these are all the investments, these are all the big cybersecurity investment opportunities available. Mind you, all of them are getting delivered through cloud, and most of them are in the SaaS model. And that is where we are seeing a big momentum globally. North America, of course, doing a lot of investment on SASE side, on XDR side, on zero trust model side, which is catching a wave in Asia Pacific region. We already started seeing a very, very large banks investing into high-end CASB and SASE solutions, leading to an XDR as well. So we'll talk about that. But coming back on threat landscape, we are talking about it globally. As we are saying, there is a big surge in the attacks. The top 3 attacks that we have seen globally are phishing attack, ransomware attack, and business email compromise. This is very, very dominant globally, and Asia Pacific is of no exception. We are seeing ransomware attack increase manifold in Asia Pacific region, followed by phishing attack and followed by business email compromise. We just did a threat roundup report a couple of months back, which categorically talks about what exactly is happening in Asia Pacific. Also have a good data on Philippines. If you guys are interested, we can share you that copy, so you can get in touch with our marketing team and they can give you a more detailed information about that. So let's come back to this. We were all talking about different landscape on the cybersecurity side. You have different attacks happening, a lot of investment areas that you might be exploring, but it's very, very difficult to decide where do you want to start from. And most of time we advise you to look at where you are currently on your digital transformation journey. Is it meeting with your business objective? You're not doing digital transformation for the sake of doing it. Are you doing digital transformation because you want to be operationally efficient, or you want to create a new value delivery channel, or you want to launch a new products line, or you want to be much more cost effective. Whatever may be your business objective, it has to get aligned with your cybersecurity. Your cybersecurity investment has to get aligned with your business objective. Your organizational structure, the vertical that you are in, the compliances, all of this factor helps you decide where do you start first. From my experience, whenever I have spoken to most organizations, including banking, including financial institutions, including manufacturing and all, the biggest investment that I'm seeing today in this part of the world is XDR, data lake consolidation, followed by CASB, followed by SASE, and so forth. So we'll talk about it on what exactly is going on. And we were talking about EDR. There is a lot of buzz around it. If you look at this, and this is a Gartner's hype cycle from 2020 on the endpoint side, if you look at this, from Gartner, they clearly says that if you are investing into managed detection MDR or extended detection and response XDR, that's not only the investment which is coming up very, very solid. But if you look at the dark blue circle, which clearly says if you do invest into this, the investment will be relevant for next 5 to 10 years. If you look at on the right hand side, it says how relevant that particular investment would be. If you happen to be investing into a standalone solution for EDR, it was worthwhile, it was doing its own job earlier. But if you look at this slide, which clearly says EDR is actually relevant, but is hitting the plateau. It's not going to be a special independent category in future. In fact, it's going to get merged with unified endpoint security, comprehensive endpoint security solution. So you won't be seeing a EDR as a special category in future, which is already happening. But if you look at, this is the latest one, and this is from the security operations, from the SOC team from 2021. Same thing. If you look at the EDR here, actually from 20 to 2021, the landscape has suddenly changed. Actually, EDR is hitting the plateau much faster than we thought of. We thought it will be hitting plateau in next 2 to 3 years, but you see flattening up, and from the light blue, it's becoming completely white, which means it hitting plateau, which means it's merging, it's becoming irrelevant as in standalone category very, very soon. So if you happen to invest few $100,000 in standalone EDR solution, probably may not be worthwhile, because the same solution is getting merged with unified security and coming probably at a fraction of the price. But where you should be investing in as a cybersecurity consultant or owner or CIO or CISO or head of IT, the biggest investment that if you are looking at should be a SOAR platform. If you see, it's declining, but it's going to be relevant for next 5 to 10 years. Breach detection and attack simulation capabilities, pen testing, autonomous pen testing and red teaming. Of course, these are the professional service led tool that you should be investing in. You should be working with some of the organizations who are expert into this. But one of the things that you can see, XDR again here in 2021 in the hype cycle of security operation is dark solid blue, coming very, very strongly and going to remain strongly relevant for next 5 to 10 years. So while we all talk about lot of cybersecurity solutions available, and you might be confused in which direction you want to take and where do you want to start first, EDR or SASE or CASB, of course a lot depends on your immediate priority. But if you are really on the fringe, or if you are really on the fence to think whether I really want to go on XDR side or no, whether it's a marketing gimmick, whether that category will remain relevant, I think you don't have to worry much. This is where the industry is moving. This is where most of the cybersecurity players are investing in. You have to take a baby steps, if not very, very quickly, to move towards XDR. Now, how do you achieve XDR? And everything starts from the SOC side there. And let me take you back, and people keep on asking question on why is XDR relevant? I still have SOC. Is XDR, do we still require XDR? I still have my data lake. I still have my SOAR. lot of question being asked. So let me just go back on this side. All of you know this. These are the pitfalls of SOC and legacy SIM solution, which gives you millions of alerts, but a lot of investigation forensic capabilities are missing there, and they were left for you to do manually. So if you look at the alert floods, make it very hard to evaluate incident automatically. Collecting data and further investigation has been a problem, and that's where the EDR started playing some role there. Making the correct modification of and configuring security tools has been a challenge. So there has been a lot of challenge. If you look at historically, SOC team and SOC industry and cyber security industry coexisted for last 15-20 years, worked together but never integrated together, never complemented to an extent the way it's complementing today. So let me explain you how it's going. And this is, before I go on how things have merged, let's look at the few pitfalls of existing SIM and what they should be doing. Number one, most of the SOC solution or SIM solution should move beyond Excel-based manual investigation to automated analytics-based investigation. You should complement to your IR team, your RAID team by giving more intelligence. You should not only depend on the threat intelligence or alerts coming from your own organization, which is what traditional SOC has been doing. It should be getting alerts from the global. It should be able to consume the intelligence from outside, which is where the threat intelligence platform comes in play. And then it should be able to automate your actions, your remediation action. And these are the things that we have been missing on. So let me just go back again. We were talking about this, and this very interesting thing. SOC has been existing, but the biggest problem with the SOC has been they work in silo. They take all the feeds from your endpoint device, your network device, your email, your web, your server device. It all comes to your SIM solution. The analytics, correlation, investigation, everything has been left to SIM to do it, which was very poor, right? And that's why it was becoming very cumbersome to make any sense out of it. That is one problem cyber security industry is trying to solve by having an XDR in place, wherein you have one more layer added between your SOC and your security operations or security devices. Do a correlation of all the events and data and give you only and only relevant information back to your SIM. So that biggest problem that SIM did have, XDR is trying to solve. But one more problem with XDR, the limitation with cybersecurity industry has been it mostly native in nature. It only works with their own solution. So if Trend Micro solution, I will only work and integrate with Trend Micro vis-a-vis with a lot of other cybersecurity solution. Their ability to integrate and coexist with third-party solution has been limited, and so is their capability to respond and remediate on the solution which are beyond your own control. So Trend Micro or Palo Alto or Checkpoint or any other cybersecurity vendors does amazingly well when they have their own solution on your endpoint, server, or email. But the moment you have to deal with third-party solutions, the response and integration capability has been quite poor. This is where the SOC industry started developing SOAR, right? So this is where the very good, I would say, kind of dating started happening between SOC solution provider or SIM solution started developing SOAR to take care of the limitation which is arising from cybersecurity, and cybersecurity companies started developing XDR to take care of the limitation arising from SIM. And that's how you see the SIM and SOAR, the XDR and SOAR started working together. So we'll go much more detail on how the SOC progression has happened. Look at this, the traditional SOC, and most of you must have this SOC wherein you have an SIM solution in place. It takes the feed from your endpoint, from your CASB, from your network devices, from firewall and all, and gives that feeds back to SIM, and a lot of investigation capability has been left for SIM to do, which was quite poor. So that was the L1 level of SOC, and a lot of manual. That's why we were doing a lot of manual investigation. That's why you have to have a big team doing a 24/7 monitoring, analysis, and respond. And by the time they really make some sense out of it, the incident might have gone to a next level, and that's why it was becoming very, very ineffective. Now what we have seen last 3 to 4 years, big investment has gone on building the data lake. And EDR has done a fantastic job. It added this automated investigation capability inside the SOC, which actually reduced the time to respond and time to detect to a greater extent, from few hours and few days to few minutes and few seconds. So amazing work, and that's why a lot of vendors started building their own data lake. A lot of large enterprises started building their own data lake, which does log aggregation and retention, which does security estate logs convergence, and you start doing a use-based engineering there. So this is where we seen the investment happen in last 2 to 3 years. But now currently where we are seeing a big investment happening on security automation, right? And where the SOAR is playing a fantastic role. And SOAR is actually having a standardized playbook. The moment you identify some events based on your cybersecurity policy, which is very customized to your organization or which is very generalized for any cybersecurity operations, the playbooks are created customized way or standardized way, and based on that, the response capabilities are automated. So earlier, one of the automation of investigation was taken care of by the EDR solution, but the automation of incident handling has been taken care of by the SOAR, and that's why we are seeing a lot of investment. And this is where currently we are. Lot of large enterprises, banking organization, large manufacturing and service organization are deploying or upgrading their SIEM to SOAR capability to have an automation response capability. But what we are going to see in future, and few of the places we started seeing this happening, advanced analytics going to lead the way for you to have more comprehensive understanding on what exactly is going on in your organization. And this is where we start seeing a data lake consolidation happening. You remember IBM, Trend Micro, Accenture, FireEye, Checkpoint, all of them build up their own data lake. So is large enterprises. Large banks started building up their own data lake. And for the customer like you would say, hey, I don't want to depend on data lake of any of the vendor. I don't want to depend on Microsoft, AWS, or Trend Micro, or anyone. I will have my own data lake, and I want all of you, all of my vendor ecosystem to feed the data back to me. So all of your data lakes should integrate and give information and intelligence to my data lake. I will only depend on my data lake. So this is where the future investment is going on, wherein we are doing a data lake consolidation, which will lead to very, very faster, automated, and much deeper investigation and IR capabilities. You will be able to see something which you haven't seen in your organization with your peers, because you have a pool of data coming from different vendors. So you can see a lot which you couldn't see earlier. That will lead to one more thing, and this is the future of SOC that we see in next 3 to 4 years, is predictive analytics. And this is where you will achieve end-to-end automation, right from identifying the threat in very advanced level to be able to remediate, response, and contain is going to be completely done manually. And that's where the AI and ML is going to come in. And you can always ask, who is going to decide particular action, because some action might be false positive, some action requires some some action requires very special power of taking decision, and that's where the autonomous learning of playbook and evolving playbook will come in play. So this is where the future of SOC we see, and this is a journey that Trend Micro is traveling. This is where Trend Micro is investing in. Now look at this. We are all talking about XDR, and XDR is so relevant. And XDR only you can achieve when you have a good consolidation done, you have good integration. But from the CIO perspective, like most of you might be dealing with, endpoint is very, very important. In most large organizations, there is a separate endpoint security team. Their job is to bind best-in-breed solution, because remember, the weakest point of your network is endpoint. This is where a lot of attack propagation happens. So you cannot leave it loose. You have to invest into one of the best security solution, probably a leader there. and you have to ask them to buy the best. Email, 92 to 93% of the attacks actually start from the email. First point of attack is email, so you cannot leave it loose. So you again want to buy the best of the breed email security solution. Network, you want to have a visibility. You want to segregate between critical network and non-critical network. You want to create your DMZ zone. You want to have your IoT environment connected to your internet environment. So a lot of things happening. You want to have a good visibility of what exactly is happening in your network. So you want to have a good network security solution. And of course, your crown jewel is your servers, which are residing in your data center with AWS, Azure, or Google. And you want to make sure end of the day they are all protected. So look at all this: endpoint, email, network, cloud. All of them are very, very critical, and you want to buy best of the breed solutions to protect them. And the biggest question, biggest decision making that most of the CIOs dealing today is buying between best of the breed versus consolidation. On the name of consolidation, they don't want to get locked down to one particular vendor. And on the name of best of the breed, they don't want to end up having 35, 40 different cybersecurity vendors in their organization, wherein it will become impossible to achieve XDR, right? Wherein your automated response capability will be pretty much limited if you have to manage such a vast ecosystem in your organization. So this is the dilemma that most of the CIOs are dealing with, and what they have to do is they have to strike a balance. They still have to choose the products which are good, but they still have a capability of interoperability, integration, and work together. And this is where Trend Micro has changed the approach. This is where Trend Micro comes in play. Trend Micro has changed from a product organization to platform organization, because we believe that we have to not only give you best of the breed solution for everything, but simultaneously we have to give a freedom back to you to choose whatever you want to buy. We help you to do consolidation, and we still help you to do XDR capabilities in future. And what is a platform-based approach? Platform-based approach is we design solution which is open API architecture based, which can do a seamless integration, which can do a scalable and faster deployment in your organization, coexisting with your existing ecosystem, which can help you deliver better visibility and give you automated response capability. And most important to that is it can protect your investment. You cannot keep on investing every year in new technologies without achieving the results out of it. You have to deploy a technology or product which you at least know that you're going to be using for next 5 to 7 years. So this is where Trend Micro has invested into something called Vision One. And what it does is it integrates with Trend Micro's Apex One, which is our endpoint security solution, Network One, which is our network security solution, including our tipping point IPS and anti-APT solution, and also of course integrate with Cloud One, wherein we are globally leader with around 29 to 30% market share. And mind you, we are leaders in Apex One and endpoint security for straight 12 years, Gartner leaders. We are Gartner leaders in Network One, and we are Gartner leaders in Cloud One. And all these solutions coming together, working together, delivering you Vision One. So not only it helps you integrate all network, endpoint, server, telemetry, and give you a correlated intelligence to see what's happening in your organization, give you ability to respond that almost in real time, but it also coexists with your ecosystem. So whatever firewall or DDoS or CASB or whatever other security solution you are using, it integrates with that. It also integrates and gives you global threat intelligence from Trend Micro side. It also supports and integrates with any of the recognized cloud platform, Google, or any of the advanced services from AWS, Microsoft, Google. And it actually integrates back to your SIM solutions. The way it works is, let's say for example, you have endpoint, server, cloud, email, network, no matter whichever product of Trend Micro you are using, it feeds back to Trend Micro data lake based on the predefined analytics and threat intelligence engine that we have. It does the detection, it gives you a visibility, it gives you remediation action, so that you can immediately take action on Trend Micro devices if required to. But if you have to take an action or you have to do containment on third-party solution, if gives the feedback to your SOAR so that it can be immediately blocked or action can be taken, and it's completely open API architecture based. So the biggest problem that XDR is solving, remember this, when we are talking about your traditional conventional SOC, take feed from anything and everything from your network, and lot of correlation investigation depends on it, which becomes a humongous task. You add layer of XDR, it only gives you relevant actionable intelligence to your SIM and SOAR, which you can feed it back to your existing ecosystem and take almost in no time, you can take action immediately. And this is where the industry is overall moving. We can talk a lot on how Trend Micro XDR is leading to. I can tell you one thing, if you're looking for a solution, and this is something which we say very proudly, the true XDR, which has a leadership in endpoint, email, network, and server, and all of them coming together delivering you XDR is the actual XDR, which is what Trend Micro is talking about, and we'll talk about it later. Trend Micro has already launched something called Zero Trust Risk Insight, which is kind of security assessment tool, which is part of our solution, kind of red teaming tool. If you want to really see the health of your organization, you want to see whether you already breach or some attack is going on, or simply you are interested to see the health of your network, this tool is available on selected basis for few accounts. If you really want to do this exercise, reach out to our team back in Philippines, and they will be happy to do this analysis, and doesn't cost anything right now. And we are also launching Zero Trust Secure Access, which will be launched probably end of October, but it's available for preview on the request basis. If you're interested, you can reach out to us and we can have an exclusive session for you on that one. So this is all part of Vision 1 as we're talking about, and Vision 1 is Trend Micro's XDR, which is a platform which integrates with Trend Micro solution and also integrate with third-party solution through SIM and SOAR. And this is what I was talking about. The true XDR should be the one who integrate best of the breed solution and still give you consolidation. So Trend Micro's endpoint, email, cloud, EDR and network, all of them, if you look at this from Forrester, but you can check IDC, you can check Gartner, we probably would be the only company who has a leadership in all this category and has a big install base globally. And all these products coming together and delivering a true XDR for you, which actually helps you to protect your investment for next 5 to 10 years. Last thing, and this is where the cybersecurity industry is moving. So far in cybersecurity industry, we were saying that OEMs like us were manufacturing a solution, we are giving it to distributor, distributor give it to partner, partner give it to customer. A lot of job of making those products work was left out to customer to an extent, to an extent to a partner. That has changed completely. We have realized in the world of cloud, in the world of new generation technologies which are delivered through SaaS model, it's not possible to only provide you a product without having a professional services. So we launched our Service 1, which is combination of multiple services, which is red teaming services, IR services, deployment and migration services, a lot of consulting services in conjunction with local partners globally to make sure that you keep on seeing the value in the product. So our job is not to give you product alone, but we jump together, we work together to make sure that you keep on seeing the success in the product that we have. The good news for you is one of the biggest investment and one of the biggest team that we have is in Philippines. We have around 1,500 to 1,800 engineers, probably one of the biggest investment outside Japan or Taiwan that we have globally is in Philippines. So we have a big investment, big commitment to Philippines as a country that we have made. I think we are very proud of what we have invested in Philippines. I'm sure you should be proud, and basically as a customer you should be leveraging these capabilities that Trend Micro do have, because these are the engineers who are developing a lot of products and are responsible for global delivery for the customer across the world. So they are one of the best people. Just last thing, just to summarize or what I just said, remember, you don't have to compromise between best of the breed versus consolidation. If you really want to achieve XDR, choose the right partner, integrate best, and still you have to achieve XDR. So don't have to compromise. You don't have to buy endpoint security solution, though it's not good, but since it helps you to achieve XDR, but not best in the class, maybe it's a compromisal position that you are taking. Number two, don't only depend on next generational detection technologies, which is AI based, ML based. You still have to depend and still very relevant signature based and behavior based technologies, sandboxing technologies, they are still very, very relevant. So any technology which is giving you best of this two world is the best way to have detection and remediation capabilities. Third thing, as I was saying, zero trust. Of course, this is a way to go. You have to make sure that you are moving forward this identity based access, all the solution which helps you to do this, you should be deploying on that. And last but probably the most important thing, do not, as I was talking about, try and differentiate on what actually is a product and what actually is a feature. EDR and sandboxing, they were never designed to be an independent product. They were supposed to be a feature which were supposed to get merged into an existing technology. So please choose the right partner. If you really want to invest with the right partner who will be protecting all the investment for you, and the product that you buy today you will keep on using for next 5 to 10 years. And probably I believe that Trend Micro is one such partner. If you invest with us, a lot of your investment will stay with you and will be able to justify and stay with you for a longer period of time. So with that, thank you very much. I hope this was not very exhaustive session, but we have a lot of other things to catch up on. You can ask any questions, you can write a mail to us, you can get in touch with our marketing if there is one particular area that you are interested to know more. With that, thank you very much.
As mentioned earlier, my name is Jason and I am the product manager for Trend Micro here in VST ECS. And I will be your host for this morning's fireside chat. So we would like to first thank Mr. Nilesh Jain, VP for Southeast Asia and India of Trend Micro, for his interesting insights and how to create a business-aligned cybersecurity strategy. And in this fireside chat, we will be breaking down his presentation and further summarize some of his key points as well as answer some of the questions you might have. So please use that Q&A widget on your consoles. Now, since we already have Tina here, let me just introduce her again. So in the chance that you haven't met Tina yet, so she's one of the senior pre-sales consultant of Trend Micro here in the Philippines. Her primary role is to assist in qualifying and recommending the best solutions to fit customer requirements. She also helps and extends support to the different partners of Trend Micro. So if you do have some questions regarding your cybersecurity journey, this is the perfect chance to ask. So please drop your questions again on the Q&A widget on your consoles. So we will be allotting a few minutes later to answer some of your questions. Okay, so Tina, so here comes the grilling. So anyway, in Nilesh's presentation earlier, there is a slide that shows the top 10 most worrisome risks for your company. Let me bring that slide up so everyone can have a visual. So here,
yep, the survey.
So this is the 2020 survey conducted by the World Economic Forum. Surprisingly, there's 50% of the respondent says they are concerned about cyber attacks and data fraud to a sustained shift in working patterns. So is this something that we can relate here in the Philippines? And how did it change the way your customers or our customers plan their security strategies?
Yep, agree. The survey is really quite interesting because it's not purely responded by technology savvy tech savvy C levels, diba? Not CIO, CISOs or CIOs. So there are different board members who also responded to that. So we got a really high percentage on cybersecurity related issues. So we also see that in the Philippine market. So there are a lot of changes on how our customers plan their investments, especially during this pandemic. So because of the pandemic, of course, businesses slow down, and most cybersecurity budgets were cut during the initial stage of the pandemic, diba? During the initial
Yeah.
early part of the pandemic. So security teams need to prioritize which one is really needed, which solutions they should really buy, and of course needed by the company. So during the start of the pandemic, a lot of security projects were actually put on hold. But as we enter to the new normal, now the new normal, this is the new normal already. We have seen a lot of Philippine companies or our customers who are actually settled down on normalizing, work from home, working remotely, and they see that there are new challenges in terms of security in this new setup. So they also realize that, of course, threats are not going anywhere. Threats is here to stay. It becomes more sophisticated, and of course complicated and really stealthier. So it's really hard for their security teams to handle the threats of today. So with this, we also see that a lot of companies have actually reevaluated their projects, and this year we have seen more and more companies implementing new security projects or evaluating new security projects, like just what Nilesh mentioned, CASB, cloud-related solutions going to the cloud, and of course, Zero Trust is also one of them.
Good thing that you mentioned about these new projects. So, as mentioned by Nilesh, as we can see in this slide, this following slide, so the customer journey is actually reinvented. So adopting cloud, zero trust, and embracing security are some of the key cyber perspectives this year. Would you agree?
Yeah. That is also true, which also boils down because of this new landscape. We also see that new threats, new type of threats are coming in, and new opportunities for our threat actors to play. These new technologies, of course, are needed for companies to innovate and, of course, be competitive in the market.
Right. So, reviewing this next slide, am I correct that this also means that new risk and investments in terms of security, with the current threat landscape and all these new infrastructure and services, what are the key asks or solutions that Philippine customers are looking at? Is there a common denominator among these customers?
Yeah, actually, the common denominator is to have a full suite of security solutions with a fixed or limited budget. Diba? Sa Philippines, that's very common. We have fixed budget, we have limited budget for cybersecurity. That's still a problem. That is still a challenge of most of the Philippine customers, especially for maybe small to medium-sized businesses. But on a more serious note, most customers today are actually looking at managed security services. So manage, I think because of the staff augmentation, the challenges with skill sets. So they think that, okay, managed security services can actually fulfill this gap in our environment. And of course, XDR is one of them. We, as Niles mentioned, when you attend security events, you would hear a lot about XDR, Zero Trust, SASE. So XDR is one of them. And of course, cloud-ready solutions and solutions that allow them to actually implement Zero Trust.
All right. So speaking of solutions, and you mentioned...
Hey, number two? Number four.
Sorry.
Hey.
Huh?
So speaking of solutions,
number
you mentioned
two?
XDR.
Ito, number two.
What are most companies, even
number
the
two,
ones
Giho?
that already
Ito, number
implemented
two.
an SOC,
Number four yan.
looking into this kind of solution? What value or additional benefits does it bring to the whole ecosystem?
Yeah, first, let's talk about why and what are the challenges faced by SOC analysts today. Actually, the number one, this was also mentioned by Nilesh, wherein yung SOC pitfalls, right? So most IT security teams are often overwhelmed with alerts. So alert
let me
fatigue.
just try to see if I have the slide here, Tina. So
okay.
Is this what you're referring to?
That's the top list. SOC pitfalls, I think. I'm not sure if we have that. The top 5 challenges every SOC analyst faces. So I think that's the slide wherein we have the red boxes. Yeah.
Yeah, here, this one.
Isa pa. Parang may isa pa yan. I think there's another one.
I don't think I have that one.
Okay.
Anyway.
Sorry. Yeah. But there, actually, it's the main problem is actually, as alert fatigue. Diba? So most IT security teams are often overwhelmed with alerts. They might have the best of breed solutions. They already have SIEM, but still yung alert fatigue hindi nawawala. So there's too much noise, making it harder, of course, to respond quickly. And then, of course, with the help of XDR, that's the value of XDR. XDR ties together lower confidence activities into a higher confidence event, of course, which results to fewer and more prioritized alerts for action.
All right. So you kept mentioning SIEM earlier. So shouldn't these types of solutions be gathering and correlating critical events already?
Yep. So SIEM solution is good. They gather correlate these critical events, yeah. But of course, each security products has their own perspective in terms of providing data to the SIEM solution. So SIEM solution is as good as what data you provide or what feeds you give to them, diba? So the value is often limited to the type and depth of data collected and the level of correlated analysis. There are gaps of what an SOC analyst can actually see and do in terms of visibility. So the good thing about XDR is that it collects telemetry data. So when we say telemetry data, everything that is happening on different layers like endpoint, email, servers, cloud workloads, and even on the network. So not just suspicious or malicious event, but when you say telemetry data, everything. So because we need this for visibility, especially for the current threat landscape wherein threats are stealthy, they stay in our environment for a very long time. Oh, you have the slide for the top challenges. So the good thing about this is that with the visibility that XDR provides, it automatically applies, analytics, threat intel to be able to provide yung full context needed for an attack-centric view of the entire chain of events across the different layers.
So therefore, it provides a better picture of the attack, right?
Yep.
And allowing the analyst to prioritize on real alerts rather than the noise. So which means we can reduce the mean time to detect and respond to these threats.
Yep,
correct?
Exactly. That's one of the key objectives of XDR, reducing mean time to detect and mean time to respond.
All right. So the common question is, and Nilesh showed this screen earlier. So if I already have an XDR solution, do I need an SIEM or a SOAR?
Yeah, of course. It all depends on your security strategy. The answer is yes, actually. XDR definitely solves a big chunk of your security challenges in terms of your SOC journey. So we also do not discount that it really augments your SIEM or SOAR solution. It's the perfect add-on for companies who are already using SIEM or SOAR. The feeds coming from XDR would further reduce the time required by your security analyst to assess relevant alerts and of course decide on what needs attention and of course warrant deeper investigations.
Okay. So let me just summarize this, Tina, okay, if I get this right.
Yep.
So because of the changing threat landscape and adoption of new infrastructure, digital transformation, cloud, and all these new opportunities of threat actors, we should be ready to become cyber resilient. So that's a given. Everybody needs to be cyber resilient. Some of the key solutions that was discussed today, like CASB, XDR, managed security, SOC, etc., as mentioned by Nilesh. And let me share that slide again. So we always need to look into a 5-year plan when it comes to evaluating solutions or technologies, basing on this hype cycle by Gartner. So yeah, thank you, Tina, for explaining the key points of Nilesh's presentations this morning. And I would like to check if we have any questions from our audience.
Yes, we have 4.
So we have 4. Let's start with the one from Sir Ronald Tolosa. So the core challenge of zero trust is locking down access without bringing workflows to a grinding halt. If individuals change roles and find themselves locked out of files or applications for a week, their productivity can plummet. How to address this?
Yes, actually that's true, no. It's just like even without zero trust. Earlier the earlier security strategy like access control, diba? It can actually affect the productivity of the users as well. So I think the key here is the right planning. So before we implement any new technology, new strategy in our environment, if you plan properly, it will be easier for your company to reduce yung productivity issues. So what Sir Ronald is mentioning here is that if we implement the wrong policy for a specific person, diba? Syempre, it can affect productivity. Just like before, diba? They say that, okay, I have DLP, data loss prevention, but it might affect the productivity of the user or the process or transactions, diba? But if we plan properly, if we have the right steps before fully implementing it, I think this can be further reduced. Yeah.
Okay. So another question from Sir Ryan Torres. Hi, Jay and Tina. If we go for Apex One Cloud, does it already include the XDR add-on? We are subscribed to SNPC.
Ano yung SMPC? Sorry. But
Sumitomo, I think. Yeah, Sumitomo.
Okay. So I think yung it depends on the subscription because we have base license, diba? We're in
Yes.
it's purely Apex One. If you go to your customer licensing portal, there is Vision One. And then you would also see that you have the XDR license. So yes, you might have it. We can
Sorry,
double
this
check
is
po.
product selling already. But yeah.
Licensing, like, oo nga. Yeah, we can double check po, sir. Per SMPC.
We'll get in touch with you, Sir Ryan. Okay, so another question. Hello,
Hello, Jay.
Jay and Christina. From those security priorities that you mentioned, what is the best sequence to implement them in our organization, taking into consideration privacy and security by design and sound GRC practices? Please consider also budget constraints. Thanks.
Yung usual challenge ng companies, di ba? They want to implement but budget constraints. I would say here there's no right sequence on what to implement, but smart protection
Okay,
complete. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Yun, Sir Ryan mentioned that they are subscribed to Smart Protection Complete. So Smart Protection Complete does not have the XDR sensor yet. So most probably, even if you're already on the cloud, the XDR sensor has to be added as well. So sorry, going back to Sir Sam's question, I would say there's no right sequence in terms of implementing all the different strategies. So it really depends on the organization. I would say that a good way to start is to have a security assessment first. Risk assessment. Like which one would be your top priority? Because some companies, their top priority would be, bringing out their solutions, bringing out yung offerings nila or services, diba? Some companies their top priority would be to comply muna. They need to be PCI compliant, for example, ISO. So I would say they need to measure which one would be their top priority and start from there. So security assessment would be recommended before we decide on which one to consider. But we can go back to this hype cycle kasi if you want to see okay, budget constraints I have limited budget. Okay, number one that I need to protect muna would be saan yung pinakamaraming assets ko. So you would say, okay, of course, dapat by default, endpoint should be protected kasi I would say 97% or 90% of your company assets would be your endpoints, diba? So protect the endpoints first. And then next, protect the servers kasi yun yung crown jewels mo rin, di ba? So things like that. So there's no parang step-by-step procedure or step-by-step implementation when it comes to this strategy.
There's no standard, you mean?
Yeah.
So it really depends on the requirement of the organization and the priorities.
Yep.
Okay.
Here is a chat. There's another one in the
all
chat.
right. Let me check. Hello, we have SEP and Malwarebytes in place combined. Do you think Trend Micro alone can replace them? So SEP is Symantec, right?
Yeah, sure. Yes, po. Yes, definitely po.
Resounding yes.
Resounding. We'd be happy.
Go ahead, Tina. Go ahead.
Happy to replace them. Yes, definitely po. Apex One, our solution for that is Apex One. We call it Trend Micro Apex One. Apex One is actually an endpoint protection solution, full suite. So it has from traditional anti-malware to, of course, yung next-gen, machine learning, all built into one single agent. And one of the differentiators would be virtual patching, which I think wala yung other vendors kasi virtual patching, if you are not updated with your endpoint with patches on your endpoint, you can use virtual patch to protect your endpoints. And what else? Of course, it has DLP built in. And if you want to have EDR or XDR, detection and response, extended detection and response, there's also the engine is also ready. So you just need the license to be able to activate it.
Yep. Okay, we have another. Now, what is Trend's strategy when it comes to BYOD plus company-issued devices, and how do you balance the need for security and the need for the users to keep control and anonymity of their devices? Okay,
so here, different strategy pwede nating implement. So BYOD and company-issued devices. So definitely, if you are using company-issued devices, so they are already protected. So we can take that out, diba? So pag BYOD, normally you would provide a separate network for them for BYOD kasi you would have additional layer. Some companies, they would implement NAC. Some companies, with the use of zero trust, can actually help also in terms of BYOD. Kasi sa zero trust access rules, you can actually define if the user is using a BYOD device, they can actually be assessed in terms of the risk level. So zero trust is also one of the strategy that we can use here. Aside from, of course, implementing the security on BYOD device or company-issued devices, one of the key here is network visibility. Kasi, okay, you bring in the device, but you don't really know what is happening on the network kasi nga it's unmanaged device technically. So what we can do is to provide a network sensor. So it's like a CCTV on your network so that we can actually see what the BYOD or what the unmanaged device is actually doing in your environment. So not just BYOD kasi ang daming rogue devices in every organization. So we can use the network sensor to be able to perform that visibility.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all the questions we have this morning. So again, may mabul.
Ay, meron pa isa.
What are the point identified and quantified key benefits of investing in Trend Micro Cloud One?
Cloud One, so our security solutions for the hybrid
servers,
cloud.
hybrid cloud, yeah.
The good thing about Cloud One is that it's an umbrella of different security solutions for the cloud. So if you are your journey to the cloud, so it would start from different microservices. So some companies would start with EC2 instances from AWS or Azure, so yung mga virtual machines. Some companies would start with serverless containers. The good thing about Cloud One is that you can start from one area first, protecting one service from your cloud provider, and then go from there. So if siguro later on, when you go to serverless, when you subscribe to more services from the cloud, like for example file storage, so you can still use Cloud One to scale up. So yun yung maganda doon. So you can scale up using Cloud One.